And we're live. Hello to all my BC Wrestle Pod nerds out there. And welcome to another rendition of NXTilosos, your NXT review show here at BC Wrestle Pod. I am one of your hosts, Mikey, and in joining me this evening, returning, it has been a hot minute since we've had him back here, is Mr. Will himself. I have missed you, my friend, and boy, there's a lot to catch you up for NXT.
There really is. I didn't know what was going on.
You're just like, but I'm super excited. It is going to be us two this evening. We may or may not have our third co-host, Mr. Macho Rodriguez, be joining us. But until then, we will be the two of us holding the fort down. So we are here to review the Tuesday, June 17th episode of NXT. So we're going to go through the show. I'm also going to give this as an opportunity to catch Will up on the goings that have been NXT. I want to say probably since Battleground over Memorial Day weekend is really the last time we had you for NXT. So a lot has went down in the last 2-3 weeks because there's also a lot of crossover what's been going down on TNA because of this arrangement that we have between NXT and TNA. So before we get into all of that though, if you are new to BC WrestlePod, thank you for being here, whether it was the algorithm, word of mouth, or you just happened to randomly find us here. I'm super happy that you are here. We do a lot of wrestling reviews. We review all the major TV weeklies as well as the pay-per-views and special events for all of the US-based promotions and for pretty much a good chunk of the internationals too. But if you cannot commit to watching a full-length review, that is okay. You can follow us on the socials at BC WrestlePod, where we pretty much have report cards for said weekly shows and special shows and pay-per-views and special events. So you can read our thoughts about everything that went down. Also, you can also check out our out-of-context clips, which summarize all the major talking points that we have for our shows. Yeah. On top of that, we have some merchandise available. So you can find that at fourthwall.com/WrestlePod. We have all review merch for all the review teams, both the US promotions and the international promotions. We also have our Hot Boys Summer Collection, which is our fun summer collection of our favorite little luchador mascot, just enjoying himself on the beach. But we also have two special collections available. One is the Grapple with Pride collection, which is our Pride 2025. And part of the proceeds of that collection will be donated to Point of Pride, which is a charity organization that helps with trans health and gender affirming care. And then the other one we have is We Don't Tap, which is a collection to resist all the stuff that is currently happening across the nation, especially when it comes to our Latino communities. And part of the proceeds of that collection will be donated to the CIYBA, I believe. I forget the acronyms, but it is a charity organization out here in California that offers financial assistance and, legal assistance for children and youth being affected by what is going on here in the States with everything that is going on. So now that I am done with that out of the way, let's just jump straight into it. We are here to do a recap of NXT. So NXT right now is running the dual marathon. So there's two paths here. They are focusing on stuff and they are laying the groundwork for Great American Bash, which is the next big pay-per-view just for NXT. But at the same time, we are also building up towards some of possibly however many matches we get. NXT will have some representation at the Evolution pay-per-view, which is the all-women's pay-per-view coming up in a couple weeks too. So NXT is pulling double duty, building those storylines out. So we're going to go through the show like we normally do. We're going to, talk about the matches. We're going to talk about some segments, and then, we'll just see how it goes from here. So we're going to jump straight into what kicked off the show, which was our first Evolution Eliminator match. So there are 4 of these. So the women definitely took center stage this episode of NXT because they had the most ring time and basically took up the most time on NXT, which I love. And we would see the 4 Eliminator matches happening this episode with the Fatal 4-Way coming next week to determine who's going on to face, yes, you heard correctly, Will, your NXT Women's Champion, JCJ, which was, trust me, it was a shock for us all a couple weeks ago. But we kicked things off with our first Eliminator match, which was Thea Hale versus Miss Jada Parker. This match ruled. Not even gonna lie. I'm gonna say that for all of our women's eliminator matches, but this one was great. Only because Jada and Thea have been feuding for the last couple of weeks. They've been in and out of each other. They'd be fighting each other in the ring, out the ring, backstage, which is crazy. And things kind of come to a head here. Jada does play the fake tap out. The ref doesn't see her tapping out to Thea's finisher, which then allows Jada to hit the hypnotic for the win. Jada is moving on next week to the Fatal 4-Way to determine whether she's going to Evolution to face JC for the title. Will, this was our first matchup to kick off NXT this week. What did you think of our first eliminator match between Thea and Jada?
I thought it was great. Fantastic. I don't hate the outcome, but I kind of do. It's just like, I love this new Thea. I'm freaking loving her, by the way. And and I love Jada Parker too. So that's why I'm not angry or upset that she won. I hate the how she won. I thought that was kind of cheap. I thought it was a cheap thing, but because, the thing about this match is I felt that this match could have gone without any shenanigans, because it was so good and they were holding their own. Each of them, there were several moments where you're like, oh, so and so is going to win, or they almost, and I thought it was cheap that they did it to shenanigans. I mean, unless there's a bigger thing in play here that I am just not aware of, I didn't care for that aspect of it. I would be fine if Jada Parker won legitimately, like she won one. I just thought it was a little bit of it to the women. I really do. I know, and I really hate when they do that to the women's matches. Like they can't win on their own without, that just bugs me. It just bugged me wrong. But other than that, I love the match. I thought they were both fantastic, and it was so great to watch. And like I said, I love this new Thea. I mean, man, she's just vicious in the ring, especially when it comes with Jada Parker, which I think is hilarious.
I kind of like that Jada's bringing out this more intense side to Thea because you kind of have to, given Jada's whole presentation
Yep.
and her character, which is fun. So again, Jada's moving on to the Fatal 4-Way next week. She is the first to claim her spot this evening. I do agree. I kind of wish it was a clean finish for Jada to win here. But I think because of how it ended, not to bury the lead, but seeing who the four end up being in that Fatal 4-Way, I love Jada, but I don't think she's moving on to Evolution to fight JC for the title. And I honestly think, I really hope NXT gives Thea and Jada a match at Great American Bash, because I think these two definitely need to have some sort of crazy match with all of this going down. But this is what kicked off the show. I really like this match. Thea and Jada can fight forever for all I care, and I would eat it up. But I do agree with my co-host, Will, here, that I feel that it was weird to have Jada tap out, ref not seen, and then pick up the victory here. So I'm like, okay. But, if this, what I'm hoping is that this spot leads to them continuing to feud, because NXT, I love y'all, but sometimes you do this where something happens and then we kind of just drop it. And then we don't get to revisit it. And I'm like, okay. But we move on from this eliminator match because backstage, this is the multiverse we are living in. Obafemi is your NXT Men's Champion. Trick Williams is your TNA World Heavyweight Champion, like your world champ. This is the world we live in 2025. This has been crazy to watch. But these two have an exchange. I need these two to collide at some point. Obafemi is like, you're a champion, bro, but you're kind of, in a weird way, even though the words weren't exactly said, Obafemi is just like, listen, I'm not even a TNA person, but you're kind of being a douchey TNA world champion, man. Like, this is not a great look. Like, Obafemi wants to say, bro, this is not a good look for you. Like, how you're a champion, but this is how you gonna carry yourself, bro. So to me, and this is because I also cover TNA too. I think this is a weird character choice for Trick. I mean, it gets him out of the whiny Trick Williams that we've been seeing over the first half of 2025. But I also feel that this cocky Trick Williams hasn't been earned for me, at least. Like, we haven't done enough, both in NXT and in TNA, to warrant him being cocky. Now, if he's presenting him, I would be more okay with it if this is the character choice after he's beaten like a good chunk of the NXT and TNA roster defending this TNA championship. But realistically, he's only beaten Joe Hendry for that title at Battleground. He beat Mike Santana, but that's because of interference from First Class, and that was defended on NXT 2 weeks ago. And then at Against All Odds for TNA's pay-per-view, he beat Elijah, but again, through the help of First Class. So I do like the dynamic that First Class is with Trick Williams. I hope this ultimately leads to Casey Navarro being like, "Nah, I'm out, y'all. This is crazy." I need, if not Obafemi, somebody needs to knock Trick down a couple of pegs, and I feel like I'm kinda here for that, I'm not gonna lie. But this was a yeah, this is the world we live in, Will. These 2 are champions in different companies, but in the same this is the world we live in. Moving on. After we got yeah, go for it.
We've seen this trick before, and I'm kind of over it. Because when he was champion before, he got all cocky, and you know what? I don't understand what's wrong with the original trick. I don't understand the humble, the good guy. I mean, he was a good guy. Yeah, he was beaten down by Carmella Hayes, manipulated by Carmella Hayes, and so he had all that PTSD, whatever. But why did we go to this? Why did we choose this route? The sort of like holier than thou, nothing can touch me. I don't even think that's like legitimately champion talk. I don't think it's like, oh, I do this because I'm a champion. I'm like, no, I think you're doing it because you're an arrogant shit. And I don't know what this is. I don't know. Because like I said, we've seen this before. It's like this is where he goes. It's like this is his default set. And then when he doesn't have a belt in his hand, his secondary default set is whiny bitch. And I'm just like, can we find something different? I mean, can you be a champion and be humble? I think you can because we've seen it. I think a humble champion who isn't afraid to like stand up and hey, I'm good at what I can take you if we need to. Have that sort of talk confidently and not arrogantly. And he is like that's his default. He goes into this arrogance. Oh, and it drives me crazy because I'm like, I know you better than that. You are better than that. We've seen the Trick Williams that I think would make a great champion. I don't know what this is. And yeah, I hope Obafemi is the one that knocks him in his place. I don't know. Something needs to happen because
Right.
he needs some humble pie.
So, I'm still hoping that Mike is the person that will take this title off of Trick, hopefully at Slammiversary. I mean, because Slammiversary is in New York, which is Mike Santana's home turf. So I'm really hoping that's the case, but we'll see what happens. It's crazy how for me the roles have reversed because I wasn't feeling Oba when we first got introduced to him, but now I'm just like I kind of love him as the foil to Trick right now. So I'm rooting for Oba and I'm metaphorically preying on Trick Williams' downfall, like in the wrestling world, not actually, because nobody deserves their downfall in real life unless they warrant it. But even then, still. So we got to move on from this because we get this pre-tape vignette. So formerly known as Mariah May in AEW, now going by Blake Monroe. We get this Sabrina Carpenter-esque like package of her getting ready to come to PC Center and sign her contract. I don't care what nobody says. I will always be supportive of Mariah May / Blake Monroe. I mean, I'm gonna have to get used to the name, and we're gonna talk about it at the very end of what close NXT this week. My personal feelings about her getting demolished, but you know what? I am here for her, and she's always wanted to be in WWE. She had one of the greatest rivalries with Timeless Tony Storm in AEW. It's one of the best women's stories in this modern era, in my opinion. But this is just a vignette of her getting ready to come to the PC Center and sign. So we're going to talk about her in a little bit because we got a 3-act structure with her in pre-tapes and then the actual segment. But right now, Black Girl Magic. Yes. So we get into our second eliminator match. This is Kalani Jordan versus Lash Legend. Listen, these photos are everything in this graphic. Graphic department, you getting kudos for me because this is how you do it. But I was like, yes, Black Girl Magic, let's go. This match was great. Kalani does amazing, but to me, the standout, of course, was Lash. I'm just like, because the biggest question mark that we had is how's she going to be on her own? Metaphor's no longer a thing. Her tag team partner, Jakar, got released in those batch of releases than a half ago. So did Ora Mensa. There's no more Metaphor. So how would Lash fare on her own? I'm ready for a singles push for Lash. I'm not even going to lie. Make this girl either North American champion or down the line, put the NXT Women's Championship on her because I am ready for a Lash Legend title run. Yes, ma'am. This match ruled. Like, Will, what are your thoughts on this match?
Oh, this was great. I mean, when I saw that these two were going to go against each other, I was super thrilled because I love both of these women. And, Kalani's my girl, and I've been wanting her to like advance so hard. But then, Lash has always been my sort of background love because she's always been like in metaphor or she's always been in something other than by herself. But now when she's by herself, she's like up there on my list now. And like this match really kind of solidified that for me because I was like, okay, girl, all right, you and my girl Kalani, y'all, okay, all right, y'all are at the top of my list because this was like girl fight, man. This is the best. I loved it. It was so good, and they both of these women are like brutal, and and their size difference was so great too, because Lash she's tall and stocky, and Kalani is sort of toned, and I say small, but that's not the correct term, but you know what I mean. She's in less stature, so it was neat to watch them just kick it. I mean, truly, I was just like, damn, this was good. This was such a good match. I was loving it.
This was really good, and I actually really love Lash's new finisher too. It looks so devastating when she hits it. It's so good. So Lash, this was a good back and forth between Kalani and Lash. Lash does end up winning and moving on to the Fatal 4-Way next week. No notes, girls. You did the darn thing. We loved it. Can't say the same thing for what we're going to talk about next. So, I thought we were done. I said this at Battleground when Stax beat Tony at Battleground. I was like, okay, this is it. Tony going to the main roster, or are we going to see him less, or we're going to set this up? We've been dragging this out since Battleground for the last couple of weeks, and I'm ready for it to be over. So we start this off with Tony not feeling Luca Crucifino because he can't trust because of Stax's betrayal. He feel like he can't trust anybody in his family, and he's not feeling Luca, and Tony's not willing to trust him. So they go out in the middle of the ring, be like, we're going to handle this business, which then prompts them to go into the ring. We have a promo between the two. Luca tries to explain his actions, which at this point is very logical. I'm expecting a turn down coming up very soon because that's how it's going to be. But then Stax comes out. He's playing mind games. They get into a fight. Luca tries to attack Stax, which then Stax gets out the way and attacks Tony. Tony is very blinded with rage and paranoia as he starts yelling at Luca Crucifino, being like, nah, bro, you can't. Be like, I can't trust you. And then they start fighting on their way out, yelling at each other. I'm just like, I'm ready for this story to be over.
Yeah, yeah. That's why I wasn't saying anything until I unmuted myself. I was like, yeah. Yeah, this was how many times have we seen this scenario? Truly. I mean, I'm sorry. Guys, y'all need to get some new material. I mean, seriously, stop recycling crap. You know what you need to do, Tony, is you need to be the best solo wrestler there is and show them that you're better without them. Done. This whole thing, this infighting, family, whatever, either piss or get off the pot, as my grandfather would say.
Yep, I was about to say the same thing. Well, it's time for them to get off. It's time to shit or get off the pot moment.
Like truly, it's like Tony's a great wrestler. Stax is a great wrestler in his own right, and I'm just like this. It's over. We settled it already.
Right?
Why are we still doing this?
Stax beat Tony at Battleground, and that should have been the end of it.
Yeah.
Now, if Tony's going to stick around, you could do one more match where it's like a crazy stipulation, like a cage match or a street fight or something that will ultimately take Tony and prepare him for main roster. But I feel that was the plan. And then they're like, main roster's not ready to call him up quite yet. So now we're just like, let's extend this. And I'm just like, no, just have Tony end this feud. And if he's going to still be around NXT, he can have feud with somebody else that is not Stax in them.
Yeah. It's old hat now. Just move on.
Yeah, we're gonna move on from this because I was just like, I don't care about this no more. Yeah. Like it hurt I was happy, but it also hurt my heart when we found out Casey was not cleared to wrestle. I was like, no, not Casey Navarro. So I haven't heard that he's actually injured, so I don't know what happened. But Casey is not going to be able to compete with Trick and AJ Francis in the 6-man tag team match later in the evening. But AJ has called in some favors. And taking Casey's place is going to be Wesley. So him and Tyson DuPont and Tyreek Igwe are now going by their faction name of the High Rise, which is kind of great. I love this. It's for them. So Wes is gonna be in here, and I was just like, I'm sad that Casey's not gonna be participating, but you called in a really good replacement in Wes because we know Wes gonna ball out.
Yeah.
So Wes is gonna be stepping in for Casey later in the evening in the match. We get part two with Blake Monroe walking through the parking lot elegantly.
Yeah, I know. I was like, wow, you go, girl.
I love you. Blake Monroe, Mariah May, whatever you want to call her. I love her. And then we get the red carpet. I was like, can we get this all the time now? Is there a red carpet in NXT? Because I need that every single week.
Seriously.
I would be so down. I really hope like people who go watch the NXT tapings, like there's a red carpet where they could take pictures and all.
That would be awesome.
I would love that more than anything. But yeah, so that's the second app. Blake Monroe walking through the parking lot and going on the red carpet. We love to see it. Okay. On paper, last week when I talked about this, I was like, I'm not really excited about this match. By the end of it, I was like, my God, I actually really like this match.
I did too.
This was such a good match. So we get the 6-man tag team match, which is a mix of our NXT and TNA stars. So you have Trick Williams, our TNA World Champion, teaming up with AJ Francis, and replacing Casey Navarro is Wesley. And then on the other side, you have TNA's Elijah teaming up with Josh Briggs. And we talked about this. We were so happy he returned at Battleground and did not return to Japan quite yet. And Yoshiki Inamura again was my standout here. But can I talk about Josh and Inamura? I was like, this is the tag team I was waiting to see. Where has
Yeah.
this been?
Yeah, they're great. They were
Like,
great.
I was like, Josh, I am now in love with you. We are finally putting you in the proper tag team. Like, I don't know what took
Yeah.
us to get that long, but I'm so happy because this is the intensity and the tag team that I need to see from Josh and Inamura. Also, Elijah, hey, call me. But in all seriousness, this match ruled, and this was a really
It
good
was.
spot. I was like, yo, AJ, you kind of killing it too. I'm not gonna lie, AJ. But what shocked me in the end of this is after all the shenanigans happened, it was Yoshiki Inamura that would pin and trick Williams in this match to get the win for his team. And that made me scream at my television. I was like, oh my gosh, we might be getting a TNA championship match at some point. But yeah, this match, in my opinion, this match ruled. Will, what did you think about the 6-man tag?
Oh, I loved it. And I thought it was very interesting that Trick was pinned at the end. That was extremely intriguing because I was like, oh, wow. Really? Maybe we're going to see a downfall sooner than we thought. I really, I'm so done with Trick Williams right now. I'm
Right.
I'm so upset about it. That's the thing. That
Right.
I am upset that I am over him right now. But anyway, but I loved this. Yeah, I agree with you. I think that Josh and I think this is great. They're fantastic. They work well together. I love it. I hope we are seeing the beginnings of something permanent. Fingers crossed. And of course, Elijah just adds, that no, but I thought this match was fantastic. Actually, I didn't think I was gonna like it because AJ Francis and Trick Williams, and so, but I really did. I was like, oh wow, okay, I'm digging it. Okay, we're good. All right, let's go.
Be like, we can do this. This is gonna be fun.
Yep.
So again, Inamura pins Trick. We're gonna talk about them in a little bit when we preview what's to come next week. Because right now, I love Tatum just being in the background of this picture. Like I was like, we need to get a ladder match for the custody of Tatum match. Like that's
Oh
what
my
it feels
God.
like. And I'm low key yelling at my screen. I'm like, Tatum, don't go with Izzy. No, don't be
Yeah.
like that. But Zarya and Soul are talking about, Zarya has her eliminator match coming out. Zarya's still not feeling about Tatum creeping around, but Soul's like, girl, she needs friends. Let's be her friend. And I was like, yes, Soul, you have the right idea. Because now that Tatum's by herself, because Gigi Dolan and Shotzi are no longer part of this company, she's by herself. So I just don't want her. I would like her with Izzy. I just don't want her with Izzy plus all the stuff she comes with, her group and everything. If Izzy was by herself, I would be okay with it. I just don't
Right.
want Tatum to be a part of that group. But we'll talk about that when we get there. So just backstage talking, setting up for what's to go down. Ricky Saints wants back at it with Ethan Page because, Ethan would play dirty during their championship match with that chair shot to the throat. So Ricky wants a rematch. But before Ricky can get answers from Ethan and get Ethan to talk, Ethan ends up being defended by WWE Evolve talent, the Vanity Project, which is made up of our newly crowned WWE Evolve champion, Jackson Drake. And then, of course, the tag team, get this, the tag team known as Swipe Right. Yes, that is their tag team name. They are so obnoxious, but they are so good as a tag team. As the person who watches and covers WWE
Mm.
Evolve, they are actually a really good tag team. I just hate the name, but that's what they're supposed to be. The Vanity Project, made up of Jackson Drake, Zeta Steel, and Swipe Right. So they protect Ethan, which then prompts Ashanti the Adonis to step up to Ricky. And Ricky's like, you know what? Ethan and I still got some business, but if you want some, come get some and I'll fight you too, Ashanti. So this is going to set something up between these two. So I'm like, okay, I will not be surprised if we get Ethan and Ricky one more time at Great American Bash. So we shall see what happens with all that. Izzy, my girl, when you don't have the Goon Squad out with you, this is what I want to see because you are actually really good in the ring. But we get our third eliminator match. This was one of the shorter ones, Izzy Dame versus Zarya with Sol Ruka and Tatum at ringside. This is a shorter match, but I thought this was pretty good. Zarya, of course, being the powerhouse in this match, but it's because of Tatum scaring Sol Ruka with her appearance that causes the distraction for Zarya, which would allow Izzy to pick up the win here. Again, we have shenanigans go down in this match with mild distractions. So I'm like, not Zarya being distracted. I mean, listen, I love the lesbians protecting each other, but I'm still like, girl, you got a match to win. We can't be doing this. All right. But again, Izzy pulls out the win here. She moves on to the fatal four way on Tuesday. Will, do you have any thoughts about Zarya versus Izzy?
No, not really. I mean, it was good. It was a good match. I was loving Tatum with her doll on the sidelines, though, cracking me up. You know, this is. I think this is okay. This, I guess, this is my one critique, that I think she becomes a distraction, and not to the wrestlers, but to the viewers, because I was trying to figure out what she was up to the whole time, and it kind of pulled me out of the match a couple of times, so I had to kind of rewind and watch again. So and that's a testament because it's a great character. So but I think they have to be careful with things like that, because I with a very unique character like Tatum, because it could become super distracting, which to me it did, because there's a couple of moments where she was doing some weird stuff and I was like, what is she doing? What's she up to? Is she about to throw some voodoo up on this, or some pig's blood or something? I don't know, but something was about to happen. But that was the only critique I had. I actually really enjoyed this match. These two women tore it up. At least I think they did.
I 100% agree. So again, Izzy's moving on to the Fatal 4-Way on Tuesday, which then leads us into our final eliminator match of the evening, which was, listen, I loved everything we got. For me personally, this was my favorite, Jordan Grace versus Lola Vice. And I think that's because I love me, Jordan, love her. So I will forever stand Jordan Grace forever and a day. But I think this is also a really good spot for Lola because she's been kind of like floating around the NXT women's division for a little bit, but she is capitalizing on her momentum, being able to team up with Stephanie Vaquer at Worlds Collide 2 weeks ago, which was a great show. Watching her and Stephanie team up live and in person was fantastic. I got to go to Worlds Collide and Money in the Bank, which was a lot of fun. Lola looked really good here. Jordan Grace, I already knew she was going to be great, but for me, Lola definitely, I think Lola's ready to get into at least that women's North American championship picture. I think she's ready for that. But this was a great one because Lola Jordan, again, she is the muscle mommy of NXT right now. So her and her workout videos and everything is great. But she had to figure out a way to be able to use that power against Lola, who was coming in fast with her martial arts training and doing the kicks and the strikes and everything, which was great to watch. Of course, I know NXT doesn't call it, but the Juggernaut driver is what seals Lola's fate. But this was a good back and forth. And for me personally, of the 4 eliminator matches, I really enjoyed this one. But Will, what did you think of Jordan versus Lola?
I love Jordan Grace. So I was just like, okay, there's no way Jordan Grace is not walking out of here. There's no way she's not going to be in that fatal 4-way. There's no way, because I personally want to see her go all the way. I want to see her take it from Jesse Jane. I want to see that happen, because I would love to see Jordan Grace with a championship around her waist again, because she was a great champion at TNA. She was fantastic. She represented the women's division extremely well, with honor. It wasn't a cheap championship. She took it seriously, and I love that about her. So I really, 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 really want her to take that from her so hard. I really do, just because I love Jordan Grace, and I thought this match was great. I thought both of these women did amazing. I was just the whole time going, Jordan, you got this, girl. You got to take it. And she did. So, yay.
Yeah, so Jordan moves on to the Fatal 4-Way. We're going to talk about, who she's going up against next week. But right now, we get a continuation. Zaria's not happy that Tatum was out there and kind of cost her souls. Like, easy, girl. It was a simple mistake. We still going to befriend her. And then Izzy's out here still playing mind games, being like, Tatum, they're not your real friends. If they were, they wouldn't be so mad at you. They would let you be in their social media TikTok videos, but they're not, girl. Be like, if I were your friend, I would let you, and then just walks away. I'm like, again, if Izzy wasn't with the Colleen, I would be here with Tatum and Izzy. I think that'd be a fun tag team. But because Izzy is with Sean Spears and the Colleen and all that, I don't want Tatum in that group. Literally, these Izzy and Soul and Zarya are fighting for the custody of Miss Tatum Top Paxley right here. Like, what I would love is that these two are fighting for her, and then she like decides to be like, you know what? I'm gonna go on my own because I can do this. Like, I want friends, but I'm not gonna isolate myself or whatever. But at the same time, I'm just like, Tatum, don't go into the darkness. No, don't do it, Tatum, please. So I'm so worried that Tatum's gonna be part of the Colleen. I don't want that for
Yeah, I don't
her.
want that for her at all. I really don't. I
So
really wish they would go away.
yeah. And then, of course, we are continuing to see that Sol and Zarya have different methodologies of how to deal with the situation. So we're also growing that tension as well. So this is going to be an interesting story. Hopefully, Tatum does not go to the Colleen. We had a preview of things that happen next week. So we are getting our Fatal 4-Way to see who goes to Evolution to fight JC for the NXT Women's Championship. So there's going to be Izzy Dame versus Jada Parker versus Lash Legend versus Jordan Grace. I am so ready for Lash and Jordan to fight each other, not gonna lie. Like, those two girls, I'm ready for those two to fight. We're also getting an NXT Heritage Cup match after, a video package for Noam Dar and a backstage segment with Ava and Tony and Luca. That because Stax was able to be a former champion a couple weeks ago, he gets this match for the Heritage Cup against Noam Dar. So I'm happy to see Noam come back into the ring. I have missed him in the ring. It's been a while. Last time we saw him is when he fought Lexus King and Charlie Dempsey and all that stuff. So happy to see he's here. But then, after a little bit of a bromance and a pep talk from each other, Inamura, while getting the victory, wants Josh to become TNA World Champion. And then Inamura will work his way to become NXT Champion. So we are getting a TNA World Championship match next Tuesday. Trick Williams versus Josh Briggs. I don't think Trick's losing, but I'm intrigued with this match.
Me too.
So I'm excited. These three matches look to be
I
a lot of
agree.
fun for next week.
I'm very thrilled that Noam Dar is back.
I love Noam. We have missed him so much. I'm glad he's
Indeed.
back. So let's get into it because we closed off the show with our main segment, which was the NXT contract signing for Miss Blake Monroe here. She comes out. Ava introduces her. She cuts a quick promo about how she's always wanted to be here in WWE, and now that she has. And of course, she doesn't shy away from it because WWE sometimes want their wrestlers to come in to not mention other companies. But at the same time, I'm just like, you cannot have Blake Monroe / Mariah May not mention her best women's feud of this modern era, in my personal opinion, between her and Timeless Tony Storm in AEW. Like, it's crazy. I'm going to talk afterwards because they were put in the middle of the card at the pay-per-view and they got cut for time. They only got 12 minutes for their street fight match. And in those 12 minutes, they made absolute cinema. But Blake cuts a promo. She's here in WWE. She's excited. So she signs her contract and then she gets interrupted by Fatal Influence, who basically mean girl her. So I'm just like, I'm not mad at it because it gives Blake somewhere to go, and revenge is a dish best served cold. So I'm excited for that. But Will, what did you think of our closing segment here of the contract signing and the table breaking?
I thought I don't know why people have such a big issue with it. It's the idea of that. Yeah, she's coming, but the thing is who she was doesn't matter anymore. She's in NXT. She's got to earn her place. So absolutely, Jesse Jane, absolutely. I was totally like, yep, there you got to let her know that it don't matter where you came from, this is where you are now, and and she'll work her way up. That's just the way it is. That's the way everybody is. Anytime they have a new contract signing, that person usually gets their butt beat because it's basically like hazing. Well, legal hazing, because it's like, oh, look, the new kid. Let's give him a swirly. This is the, pro wrestling equivalent to a 7th grade swirly. So I thought it was great.
Love that. Be like, here's the swirly.
Yeah, I mean, seriously, and
So
how iconic is it? Think about it. How iconic to put them through a table. There's nothing more iconic in wrestling than the table,
right.
honestly.
Literally everybody else, we want tables every other time there's a
Yeah.
match happening.
So it's apropos. She is being christened into NXT. Boom. That's how you should look at it. Not just because she got put through a table doesn't make her less than what she was. It's literally like welcome to NXT. Boom,
Right.
through a table.
Love it. So this is what ended the show, and that brings us to the end of our NXT review. A bit of a short one this week, but again, I felt like this was a setup episode because we were setting up for possibly things to happen at the Great American Bash, but we're also working our way towards what's coming first. Well, actually, they kind of are going at the same time, which is Evolution. So next week, we get 2 championship matches. We get our number 1 contender Fatal 4-Way and what else ever goes down on NXT. So, Will, I'm so glad that you're back. Like, it's so nice to actually have other people to talk NXT with, and I was like, I'm not by myself talking to myself. So I'm happy that you are back. But
Happy to be
before we sign off, we got to go through what the remainder of the week looks like for BC Wrestle Pod. So in about 2 hours or so, give or take, I will be back at least, and I will be joined by my masked luchador friends over at Los La Lucha. So myself and Papo will be reviewing a fun as we're also talking about things that are happening this week because this is going to be a crazy week for CMLL because we are colliding with the AEW crew. So more on that when we get there. Tomorrow evening at 7:30 p.m. Pacific, 10:30 p.m. Eastern, we have the Ring Rats and Riot Axe team. So myself and Andrew will be back once again to review another Defy Wrestling event. This time, we are looking at Defy Wrestling's Vortex event, which saw Marina Shafir being a badass, the Defy debut of Cedric Alexander. And then on top of that, we also got a really entertaining 2 out of 3 falls tag team championship match for the main event. So it was a lot of fun. Then on Friday's a big one for us here at BC WrestlePod because we are doing a live watch along for CMLL and New Japan's Fantastica Mania. So that's going to start at 7:30 p.m. Pacific, 10:30 p.m. Eastern. It will be myself, El Bagundo, possibly Papa Oso, and maybe some of the AEW boys who have an open invitation to watch this along with us. This is a good time for y'all to come and be a part of CMLL because it is on and popping over here in Mexico. Not even going to lie. So this is going to be a fun one. I cannot wait. That's going to be Friday evening. And then we wrap things up Sunday morning / afternoon with our Dual Dynasty review, where the WWE boys will be reviewing Raw and SmackDown. And then we will also be giving our predictions for the next pay-per-view for WWE happening next week, which is Night of Champions, I believe. So that's going to be a lot of fun. I cannot wait. So me and Will here, we got to get up on out of here. But thank you so much for tuning into NXTilosos. We will be back next week to review another exciting episode of NXT. But until then, from all of us here at BC WrestlePod to you, remember, take care of yourself, love one another, stay Bi-Conic, and more importantly than anything, you always deserve to finish your story. We'll catch you a little bit later tonight for our CMLL review. But until then, sayonara, and we'll see you soon. Ta-ta for now.
Thank you so much for tuning in to another Vibe Tribe production. What's going to happen next time? Well, you're going to have to tune in to find out. But until then, remember, take care of yourself, love one another, and as always, make sure that you keep the good times rolling. Thank you for being here, and we'll see you next time.